Hello and welcome to the course of network security. In today's video, I will talk about cryptography. Here is a brief roadmap of today's presentation. I will talk about cryptography and its different components which are mentioned here in the content. So let us talk about cryptography. Actually, cryptography is the backbone of any secure system, including network. It could be information, it could be your cloud, etc. You can say it is the backbone. The word cryptography itself is derived from Greek, and it is a combination of two words, cryptos, which mean hidden or secret, and grapho, which means writing. Hence we can say that the art of secret writing is known as cryptography. Or you can say that cryptography is actually the science of using mathematics to encrypt and decrypt data. The words encryption and decryption maybe you have heard in this course for the very first time, but don't worry, we will explain them in this lecture later on. The cryptography, it enables you to store sensitive information or transmit the sensitive information over an insecure network like the internet. We use it to achieve certain level of security for our data, whether it is stored on the computer or whether it is transmitted over an insecure network. We can say that the primary purpose here is to hide the meaning of the data and not the existence of the data. There is a difference between the cryptography and steganography. In cryptography, we actually hide the meaning of the data. The attacker will know the existing of the message, but he or she will not be able to understand the contents of the message, or it would be difficult for them to derive the actual message from the encrypted message. While on the other side, in steganography we actually hide the existing of the message. As I told you about watermarking, so there is a technique to hide the data. Some terminologies that are related with cryptography. The first concept is known as the plain text. Plain text is the original message, the actual data. It is also known as the clear message or the clear text. Mean any message, any data, any information that can be read or that can be understood without any special measure is known as the plain text. And here in this figure, what you can see on the left hand side is an example of the plain text, right? So your actual data that you want to secure is known as the plain text. On the other side, we have ciphertext. Now, this is the coded message. This is the encrypted message, or this is the encrypted plain text, and it is going to be in unreadable form, ununderstandable form. In short, you can say that the encrypted plain text which is unreadable is known as ciphertext. In order to convert a plain text into ciphertext, we need a process which is known as encryption. So you have to encrypt the plain text into ciphertext in order to make it ununderstandable. And the resultant version of the text is known as ciphertext. Now for this conversion, we actually required an algorithm, a security-based algorithm. And that algorithm is actually known as Cipher. Cipher is the algorithm for transforming the plain text into ciphertext. You can see here, this plain text is converted into ciphertext with the help of an algorithm. So the algorithm that we actually use for encryption purposes is known as the cipher. Okay. Or you can say how we will actually convert the plain text into ciphertext. So you will do that with the help of a cipher, with the help of an algorithm, which will actually do the task for you. But algorithm alone is not sufficient. Remember, there are two things: the algorithm and the key, which is actually the secret information used in cipher, in the algorithm. And this secret must be known only to the sender and in some cases to the receiver, depending whether you are using public key or private key. So actually the key is the information which is used in this algorithm, or which is used in the process of encryption and decryption. Here you can see we have a plain text original data hello. We apply an algorithm along with the key in order to convert it into a ciphertext. And you see the converted text is different from the original text, original data, the plain text. And this process is known as encryption. And this is an example of cryptography. Okay, so two concepts: cipher is actually the algorithm which is used for this conversion, and key is the secret which help us in this process, or which will help us in the process of encryption and decryption. The two words that we are using repeatedly again and again in this lecture are encrypt and decrypt, or you can say encryption or decryption. They are also known as encipher or encipherment and decipher or decipherment. Different names are there, but the concept is same. Let us see what is encryption. The process of converting plain text into ciphertext by using the algorithm and the key is known as encryption. Here in this part, the process of encryption has been depicted. What you see is the process of encryption. In simple word, when you convert the plain text into ciphertext with the help of algorithm and with the help of key, that process is known as encryption. So the conversion of plain text into ciphertext by using the cipher and key is known as encryption. Encryption is also known as encipher or encipherment or encoding, things like that. On the other side, we have decryption. Now, what is decryption? Decryption is actually the opposite of encryption. Decryption is also known as decipherment or decipher, decoding, etc. When you retrieve or when you recover the plain text from the ciphertext, that process is actually known as decryption or decipherment. Okay, so the recovery of the plain text from the ciphertext is known as decryption. If you see here in the plain text, we have a readable text: memo, confidential, review, etc. And then we encrypt the text, we convert it into something ununderstandable. And you see here, began PGP, PGP is the name of the protocol, blah blah blah, and then end PGP. Now this is encrypted, it's ciphertext which is in encrypted form. At the receiver side, this process actually happens at the sender side, and this actually happens at the receiver side. So at the receiver side, the receiver will be interested in the plain text again, not in the ciphertext. So he or she will need a mechanism to decrypt this ciphertext again into plain text, and decipherment is there. Normally, we use the same algorithm for the encryption and for the decryption process. Here, the duty is to convert it into the ciphertext, while here the duty is to convert it, revert it back, recover it back into the plain text. So you see here the plain text again at the sender side, at the receiver side, but during transmission we have converted the plain text into ciphertext in order to make it secure during its transmission. And this is the process of encryption and decryption. Beside from cryptography, we have another concept which is known as cryptanalysis. Cryptanalysis is also known as code breaking, and as the name indicates, as the name suggests, it is the science of analyzing and breaking secure communication without knowing the key. You can say that the principles and methods that are used for transforming the ciphertext back into plain text without knowledge of the key. You have the knowledge of algorithm, but you don't have the key. But still you want to break the communication. You don't have the key. So it's mean you are an unauthorized person, you are an attacker, you are a hacker, and you want to break the communication. You want to break the secure communication. You want to recover the plain text from the ciphertext without knowing the key by performing different attacks on the secure communication. This process is known as code breaking or cryptanalysis. And you use different techniques, different attacks to achieve your goals. And here what we see is an example of code breaking. We have Alice and Bob. They want to communicate, they want to send a message to one another. And now they are aware of the dirty guys there. So they actually use cryptography to secure their communication. They convert the plain text into ciphertext with the process of encryption. They need algorithm and key, and then they send their ciphertext on an unsecure or insecure channel like the internet. At the receiver side, the Bob will apply the same algorithm and maybe the same key to decrypt the message, to retrieve, to recover the plain text from the ciphertext. Now here we have the Eve, the dirty guy, the dirt, and he want to break this communication without knowing this key. This key is only known to Alice and Bob. The Eve do not have information about that key, but still he or she will try to break this communication without knowing the key by using a process which is known as cryptanalysis. Okay, so he will do some sorts of attack in order to decrypt this ciphertext without knowing the key. Maybe he would be able or she would be able to gain some useful information which will give the attacker a clue about the information about the communication by performing different types of attacks. So this process is known as code breaking. And then we have cryptology. We studied about cryptography and cryptanalysis. Now, the study of both cryptography and cryptanalysis is known as cryptology. That is actually the combination, or you can say the science of converting plain text into ciphertext with the help of cryptography, or from a taker's point of view, recovering the plain text from the ciphertext without knowing the key. That is the cryptanalysis. And the combination of both these two is known as cryptology. If you want to be a successful security person, you must have the knowledge of cryptography as well as cryptanalysis. How actually the people are breaking the secure world. On one side, you need to know about how we can actually secure our data. But on the other side, you must have to know about how people are breaking our secure communication. And these two is known as cryptology. And finally, this is the abstract level view of the concepts that we have studied now. First, we studied about the plain text, which is actually the original message or the clear text. And then we studied about the ciphertext, which is actually the the coded message, the converted message, the encrypted message. In order to convert this plain text into ciphertext, we need an encryption algorithm. There is the cipher. And beside from this algorithm, we also need a key, a secret. And the key here is represented by capital K and capital A. K stand for key, A stand for Alice, which means this is the key. This is the password of the Alice. and she will use this password to convert this plain text into ciphertext. And then here we have a communication channel which is unsecure, which is the internet, for example, and they want to transfer their ciphertext on this unsecure channel. Then on the receiver side, we have the Bob. In order to extract the plain text back from this ciphertext, Bob will need the algorithm, which is known as the decryption algorithm, plus the key. Here, the key is represented by KB. K stands for key, B stands for Bob. That is the private password or key of the Bob. Bob will apply this password along with the algorithm on this ciphertext to recover the plain text from it. And this process is known as decryption. And here we have the dirty guy, the Trudy. Normally we give it different names. Our couple, they always have the same name in the world of security, Alice and Bob. You must know them now. Alice is female and Bob is the male person. Sometimes we get confused in their names. And Trudy is the bad guy there. You see? He will try to get the plain text from this cipher text by performing different attacks, and it is known as the cryptanalysis or code breaking. This was some basic concepts which were related with the cryptography. In the next lecture, in the coming lecture, we will be talking about some classical encryption methods. Stay tuned and thank you for watching the video. Goodbye.